It was 2:30 a.m. when Jenna arrived at the small, isolated gas station. She'd worked the night shift before, but this one felt different. The air was heavier, thick with a strange stillness that made her uneasy. The station, located at the edge of an empty highway, rarely had customers at this hour. Jenna pulled her coat tighter, shivering not from the cold, but from an unsettling feeling she couldn't shake. Her boss, Tom, had warned her that it would be a quiet night, but even Tom's gruff attitude couldn't calm the knot in her stomach. The fluorescent lights above buzzed in a constant hum, and the faint sound of crickets outside did little to break the eerie silence. She stood behind the counter, trying to focus on the small TV that played an old movie, but her eyes kept darting toward the large windows facing the empty road. The first sign that something was wrong came when the power flickered. The lights dimmed and the TV went black. Jenna glanced out the window, squinting at the dark road. Nothing moved. She sighed, walked over to the fuse box, and checked the circuit breaker. Everything seemed normal. She returned to the counter just in time to hear the sound of tires on gravel. A car was approaching. It pulled into the parking lot, an old, rusted sedan. The headlights blinded her as the car came to a stop. A man stepped out. He was tall, dressed in a dark jacket, his face hidden in shadow. Jenna tried to steady her breathing as he walked toward the door. She opened it, forcing a smile. "Can I help you, sir?" He didn't respond. Instead, he stared at her with cold, lifeless eyes. His breath came out in small clouds of mist, even though the night wasn't cold enough for that. Jenna's hand hovered over the lock, but she couldn't bring herself to close it. Something about him felt wrong and natural. He finally spoke, his voice a low rasp. "I need a phone." Jenna nodded, gesturing to the landline inside. "It's right here," she said, pointing to the phone on the counter. The man's hand reached for it, but before he could take it, the lights flickered again, then went out completely. The silence was overwhelming. The man turned and walked into the darkness without a word. Jenna stood frozen, her heart hammering in her chest. Then a voice echoed from the back of the station. It was Tom's, but it wasn't right. "Jenna," the voice whispered, though Tom hadn't spoken. "Get out." Suddenly, the phone rang. Jenna's hand trembled as she reached for the receiver. She didn't want to answer, but she did. A cold breath on the other end whispered, "I'm still here." The voice was unmistakably the man's. Jenna turned to the door. The sedan was gone. Only the empty road remained. The phone went dead. There was no one left.